One time I was sitting in church and I had to fart. I knew it would be dangerous considering I have a supernatural pull. I felt it coming and the next thing you know the building starts vibrating and the sprinklers got set off. The roof was starting to cave in and I knew it was coming. All the windows were shattering and the ground was wobbling. I did the most chunky, monkey, funky, stunky, bed bunky, tree trunky, gunky, skunky, sloppy, ploppy, moppy, gloppy, mushy, tushy, ooshy gooshy, sushi fart so powerful I needed to get stitches. The walls started to crack and everyone was screaming while hiding under their chairs praying because they thought God was coming down. The danger alarm went off and everyone was calling their family saying they loved them. The roof finally caved in causing more destruction and my whole splitting fart finally stopped. Everyone got out from under the chairs and looked around. There was rubble everywhere and even the brick walls was cracked. They were wondering where God is and I had to act concerned with them. Anyways, my fart made it on the news and was titled as California's most deadliest earthquake. Little did they know it was my ripper.
I'm pretty sure my parents have very selective hearing. I would be there minding my own business, doing my own thing, right? And then I would hear my mom screaming my names from the bottom of the stairs. So I would go like, what? Really loudly. And so many times, but she literally wouldn't be able to hear me. Then I would have to go down and my mom would just be there asking, oh, what are you doing? But when it's like 2 a.m. in the morning and I'm calling my friends, whispering, barely making a sound, basically just breathing, she would already be storming to my bedroom, half asleep, yelling at me to shut up. How does this work?
Storytime about my extremely creepy neighbors. So a little background information, I was 12 years old and I was in 6th grade. And my family and I lived in a really small town where everyone knew everyone. But our new neighbors had been building their house next to us for the past 4 years. And finally, when they were done with the house, this house was huge. I mean, probably because there were like 8 people moving into the house. There was the mom, the dad, 4 kids, and their grandparents. So like 8 people. But I was super excited because I was like, okay, this is awesome. I get to meet some new friends. But after 2 weeks of not seeing anybody playing in the backyard or anybody on the school bus, I started to think that their family was super fucking weird. And everyone in our neighborhood liked to gossip, and everyone was saying how they barely see the people who had just moved in. So my mom decided to take one for the team and make some brownies, take them over to the house, and I ended up going with her. So we go up to the house, we knock on the door, and one of the kids came and opened the door, but the dad ran over and grabbed him.
Story time of how I caught my grandma and my dad sleeping together. Yes, you heard me right, my dad was sleeping with my grandma. Sadly, I had to be the one to find this out and walk in on them doing the dirty, and it was probably the most traumatizing experience I've ever had. So basically, my dad told my mom that he had to start working late to get extra money, because at the time we weren't doing so good money-wise. So basically, a couple months go by, and my mom said he started acting really, really weird, and then asked me to keep an eye on him and see if he's like doing anything strange. So you know me, the best daughter in the world, kept an eye on him, and I didn't find much out. Until one day, after I came home from school, I got locked out of my house because I didn't have my key, and both of my parents were so called at work. So I told my mom, and she works an hour away, so she couldn't come get me. And so I just had a friend drop me off at my grandma's house. So I tried calling my grandma, but she didn't answer, so I decided I was just gonna go anyways. I go through the back door like I always do, and I wanted to sneak up on her and give her a hug. So I try to be as quiet as I can, and I walk in the room and see my grandma and my dad butt naked on the bed.
One thing about me is when I was 19, I moved into my first home, but my address leaked. It became a big problem because fans were showing up and my neighbors were like, James, what the fuck? So I tweeted and I said that I loved my fans, but not at my house. That is not appropriate. Well, that backfired really fast because later on that night, I got spotted. What does that mean? You're probably asking. Well, don't worry. I'm going to tell ya. It was 3 a.m. and I was sleeping when I was awoken by pounding on my door, and I thought, oh my fucking god, if this is a fan, I am going to commit a crime on my front porch. Well, it turns out it was not a fan at all. It was the SWAT team at my house. Well, I walked down the stairs in my underwear, and before I got to the door, I looked out the window and there were several policemen running by with massive shields and massive guns. Yes, there was a red dot on my forehead and I was going to die. At that point, I was already crying, but I opened up my door and I said, what is going on? The officer said, get on the ground! So I got on the ground and said, there's nothing here. And he said, how many hostages are in this house? And I said 0. There are no hostages. It's me and my roommate and my little dog. And he said, where's the bomb? And I said, sir, there is no bomb and there are no hostages either. I'm a YouTuber and my address leaked. And he said, I don't believe that. We need to search the house. He put me and my roommate in handcuffs and pulled us outside in my underwear. We sat on the curb for 3 hours while we were waiting for them to search my house. Thank God that my neighbors came outside and they told the police that we were fine. So fuck whoever called the police claiming we had bombs and hostages. It was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, and after that I moved.
Am I the asshole for picking my child up from a sleepover because the family has a bath day? So I'll start by saying that I don't think I'm the asshole in this situation, but I was told I am because I didn't respect the family's household rules. But I'll give a little background before telling the story. I have a son named Jason who's 8 years old, and he has a best friend named Brandon. The boys have been attached at the hip since they were in daycare. Brandon's mom, Ashley, and I are friendly and speak frequently because of the boys. I normally don't let my kids stay over at other places, but I've always allowed Brandon to stay at my home because his mom doesn't have this rule. Not sure if it matters, but the reason I don't allow my children to stay over at friends' houses at this young age is because I feel like at that age, they are still pretty dependent on their parents. Plus, my children usually don't ask to stay over. They ask if their friends can stay at our place, which I don't mind since we have the space and all the fun things that kids enjoy. Okay, so on to the story. Last weekend, I broke a rule and let my son stay over at Brandon's home. 1, because he asked, and 2, because my daughter was at my mother's for the weekend, so I thought me and my husband could have a weekend to ourselves. While enjoying some adult time with my husband, Jason called me and said that he wanted to come home, but he was whispering, so I could tell something was up. I asked him why and what was wrong, and he said that Ashley wouldn't allow him to take a shower because it wasn't a bath day.
Story time on how I read my little sister's diary and found her fantasizing about me. Okay, so boom, jumping right in. My little sister and I have a great relationship. I'm her big sister and I protect her from all her bullies and always have her back in any situation. My little sister is 13 and I'm 18, but one thing about my sister is she gonna write in her diary. Literally, she's obsessed with jotting down every single thing that happens in her life. Well, recently my sister has been acting a bit different. She's just been so distant and I feel like she's been pushing me away. Me being a worried big sister, I asked her if she's having trouble at school, but she told me she's fine and closed the door on me. So since she wasn't telling me anything, I waited until she went to volleyball practice and snuck into her room. I took her diary and I know I shouldn't do it, but I couldn't help it because I really felt like my sister was having trouble at school. But what I found in that diary changed our sister relationship. Changed for the worse. Like for part 2.
I am going to be telling you a scary childhood story. When I was 2 years old, my mom passed away. My dad wasn't in the picture, so I went to go live with my grandparents. My grandparents lived in a super old home that was built in the 1800s. I was a very imaginative child. So when I told my grandparents that I used to see people in the house, they just didn't believe me. There was one lady in particular that I would always see. She would sit at the end of my bed and watch me fall asleep. I wasn't scared of her because I thought she was an actual person. Plus, I was super little, so nothing even crossed my mind. At this point, I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember her talking to me constantly. She even sang me the song Rockabye Baby to get me to go to bed one night. Every single day when I would get home, I could see her in my window. At that point, I thought she was just waiting for me. She just wanted to be my friend, right? But as I got older, things started to get really weird between me and her. She wasn't this nice lady anymore.
I'm going to share with you guys the story of when I got my yitties pierced. For those of you that are new here, when I hit 1K, I celebrated by going to Barnes & Noble for the first time, and I was like, I'm gonna go get my yitties done. Right? It was such a good fucking idea at the time. So, we're over there, it's me, my husband, and my oldest. And kids can't come in, obviously, so they go to the food court. And I'm like, bet, I'll be right back, right? No biggie. I was feeling so confident. I have a throat tattoo. I have lots of piercings. I have gauged ears. I'm good to go. This is gonna be nothing. Okay, that's where I fucked up. So I go in there, yada yada, sign the waiver. I pick out my jewelry. She's like, come sit down, take your shirt off. And she was like low-key cute. And I was like, oh no, okay, whatever, fine. So get that done. She's like measuring shit, boom, boom, boom. I'm still feeling confident. I'm a little bit nervous, nothing too crazy, right? And then she pulls out this needle. And when I tell you it was the biggest fucking needle I've ever seen in my life, low-key panicking, totally fine. So she goes, I'm gonna do one, then I'm not gonna take the needle out, I'm gonna do the other one while your adrenaline's still going, And I was like, wow, why is she making this such a big deal? Nothing crazy, okay? She does the first one. When I tell you, I saw God walking past in his Jerusalem cruisers. I almost died. I almost blacked out. And then she goes, deep breath, time to do the other one. I said, bitch, what you mean? There's two? I was sweating. Oh my God. And then, said and done, she does boom bang, puts the jewelry in. And she's like, okay, be careful about getting them snagged, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to walk past walls and rub my titties on them. Like, what am I going to snag it on, Like, my tits are small, there's no big deal. And no, you snagged them on everything. You roll over in bed too quick, snag. You go to wash your hair in the shower, snag. The barbells are way too fucking long because it needs to, compensate for swelling. So that was fucked up. And then, day 3 of healing, still in so much pain, my son rolls over, clocks me right in the tit in the middle of the night, okay? I almost yeeted that little baby so fucking far. And they take so long to heal, 6 months in. You know what? No, they're not healed. I changed them for the first time. Serrated knife blades. I thought I was gonna have to leave them out because it hurt so fucking bad. Anyways, you guys should go get it done. It's bad bitch energy, but that's a story of when I hit 1K. What should I do for 14K? Let me know.
One time I was in the bathroom at Walmart taking a violent shit and I noticed someone kept watching me through the crack. I said, if you don't fuck off, I'll kick your ass so hard my foot will come out through your mouth. He then started hysterically crying and he ran out. I was thinking what a little pathetic bitch was he. I couldn't flush the toilet because it was clogged, so I just left all the shit in there for the next lucky fucker to come along and witness it. I saw the man that was staring at me go back into the bathroom, and that's when I realized I left my phone on the toilet roll holder. I went inside the store to see the man eating my shit like it was a McDonald's 4-course meal with dessert and a free side. He then turned around and started hysterically crying again, and he ran out of the store with shit all over his face. I got my phone and left that bitch faster than my dad left me when I was a child. I never went to that Walmart ever again.
I haven't been to the toilet in 4 days and it was starting to worry me, so I went to the doctor's. I arrived and the doctor felt my stomach and said it was very hard. He wanted me to take a stool sample, which means you have to shit in the cup. I had coffee for breakfast, so I was pretty much ready to go. I grabbed the cup and went to the toilet and held it up to my ass and started pushing. I didn't realize how badly coffee affected me, and the next thing you know, a strong gust of diarrhea started blasting out of my ass and I felt like a rocket ready for takeoff. I grabbed onto the door for balance because I started levitating and the cup was already full, but I couldn't stop. I was holding onto the door for dear life and the shit was spitting out like a shotgun. I eventually stopped and looked at the glass cup of my shit and there were cracks all over the glass. I heard the desk lady shouting for everyone to get under the chair and to call the police. I got scared thinking what is going on outside, so I quickly cleaned myself up and rushed out of the bathroom to see everyone crying and hiding under the chairs because they thought there was an active shooter in the building. I said it was just my shit and everyone got up. Anyways, I have bowel cancer. Time when I was 9, I was giving my mom a back massage. I was sitting on her back and I wanted to fart, but instead I did a shart and piss combo so wet and stinky your nose would turn into dust if you smelled it. She immediately jumped up and my hot diarrhea splattered all over our brand new carpets. She went and showered and I could hear her crying. When she got out, she made me clean the shit on the carpet with my blanket. She made me sleep with the blanket that night and I was crying in bed. The smell of my blanket was that bad I vomited, and because the pressure of my vomit was so harsh I did another shit and piss combo. I was crying as I rolled around in my filth and my mom came in and screamed when she saw it. She said, how can someone so little have so much shit inside of them? She showered me and she then made me sleep on the couch because she didn't want to risk me sharting in her bed. We then bought a new bed set for me and replaced our carpets. So y'all remember how PE teachers used to make you run the mile in elementary school? Well boy do I have a fucking story for you. So I was out on the field running my second lap and my stomach started hurting because my fucking mom decided to buy McDonald's for breakfast. So I asked the teacher if I could go to the bathroom and that bitch ass Trump gorilla looking motherfucker said no, so I just kept running and prayed to Michael Jackson that it would go away. So I'm on my third lap and I have to fart. And on God I pulled a Nessa Barrett. So much shit came out that I could literally make a 4-course meal with it. And a chocolate fountain for dessert. I was about to fucking cry. Obviously I wasn't gonna tell my teacher that I shit myself, so I just said I felt like I was gonna throw up. So I go to the clinic literally holding my hands on my ass so nobody would see my shit. When I get to the clinic the nurse tells me to sit down, but in my head I'm like, bitch, if I sit down your chair is gonna look like the chocolate river from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I just lean on the wall until my mom comes to pick me up. When I stand up off the wall to go to the bathroom my shit is smeared on the wall and the nurse looks at it and she's like, what the fuck? Was that you? And I was like, ew. Hell no, and I run to the bathroom and my whole ass had shit on it, and when my mom picked me up I started crying because she asked what smelled like dog shit and she thought she stepped in something and I had to tell her it was my ass.
When I was younger I was in Walmart and I was eating a tube of Pringles and I ate them while my mom paid, but I forgot to let the guy scan them, so I walked out the Walmart and the alarm went off and I just started running because I got scared and my mom couldn't find me because I was hiding behind the newspaper things in the Walmart. People called the police because I was missing, and when I hear them show up I thought I was a criminal, so I left my mom a note on the newspaper that said I went to Mexico to start a new life and not come looking for me, and then I took off running with my Pringles and ran for like an hour, and then the cops saw me walking down the road so they pulled over, so I started running again, and then they were using the car intercom thing and they told me to stop running. So when I did I thought they were gonna put me in handcuffs and take me to jail, so I was crying and I slapped the officer in the stomach and tried to run again, but he just held me back, and when he asked me what happened to me and I told him, he started crying because he was laughing so hard. And he just gave my mom $2 for the Pringles. How to be caca in just 3 steps. Step 1. Be caca. Step 2. Be caca. Step 3. Be caca. I can't be the only one where if you go over to a friend's house and you are starving, absolutely starving, but you're too scared to ask for some food because, you know, you feel like rude if you just say, oh, can I just help myself to your fridge and your snacks? But then the mum comes up and asks if you want any food. You're too shy to say yes or no, so you are praying that your friend makes the answer for you and makes the answer yes. But then she says, no, we're not hungry. Excuse me, Vanessa. When did I say I wasn't hungry? Excuse me, Vanessa.
Roblox hacker stories be like, there is a new hacker on the loose. His name is Smack My Ass For You. He is very dangerous. He plays Adopt Me, Please Donate, Tower of Hell, and Brookhaven. This is what his avatar looks like. In 1999, he hacked Adopt Me, Evade, and Doors. If you join his game, he will play this creepy song and start twerking. As you can see, it's very creepy. If he comes up to you while twerking, he is taking all your Robux. So leave as quickly as you can or else. Here is some leaked footage of them hacking. Very scary. Make sure to stay safe.
One day when I was packing my lunch, my grandpa asked me what I was eating, so I told him I was gonna eat a sandwich, apples, and Takis. He asked what Takis were and I said they were spicy chips. He asked to try one, but my grandma told me that if I gave him a Taki I would regret it. I gave him one anyway. When he bit the Taki he jumped 65 feet in the air screaming. He was asking for milk and we gave him milk, but we forgot he was also lactose intolerant. While he was drinking the milk he ran out of the room and tripped on our pet pussy. He started farting and it sounded like we lived next to NASA when a rocket is about to launch. He let out the longest sloppy gloppy bloppy moppy noppy copy loppy floppy sloppy. When he fell I heard his back crackle McFrackle tackle. His back cracked, the cat attacked, roaches get attract. He broke his back, his shit turned abstract, he fell on the floor and couldn't get up no more. He was very sore, he looked like a dead boar. The pussy went bonker yonker plonker knocker conkers. We rushed him to the hospital and found out he died from a ruptured ribcage and explosive diarrhea. We also found out he had lymphedema, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, bowel cancer, the bubonic plague, the coronavirus, the Spanish flu, tuberculosis, malaria, AIDS, shitworm, measles and polio. Time when I was little I thought I could talk to trees, because I had no friends, and I used to sit by them and say things, and one day I was talking to my tree friend called Kevin, and this girl went up to me and said, "Are you talking to that tree, freak?" And I started crying and hugged onto the tree, and while she was laughing one of the branches fell on the girl's head. Day my teacher announced to the class that we were gonna do a Kahoot. I threw my bag of Cheeto Puffs in the air and screamed because I was so excited. I knew I was going to win the Kahoot. Everyone else looked at me like I was on drugs because of how hyper I was. They all knew that I was gonna win since I had never lost a game of Kahoot before. The game started and I was obviously the first to join. My username was Kahoot Master 235 of course. Most people joined and so the teacher started the game. Some people didn't join because they knew I was gonna win. There were 15 questions. I was in the lead but when I saw the leaderboard, this kid with the username You're Gonna Lose Sophia 89 was really close behind me. Everyone was cheering them on because they wanted to see me fail. I was like oh hell no ratatata that ain't gonna happen. I couldn't lose my streak of winning. I got the 10th question wrong but You're Gonna Lose Sophia 89 got it right so they went up to first place and I went to second. I did well the rest of the game and when it announced the winners, I was in fucking second place and they crippled stretched Ed Sheeran cereal box stanky hoe brick eating cockastain mama hippo Jojo Siwa on steroids bitch won. Everyone was applauding them and I realized it was Becky Nucky. I decided since everyone was laughing, I let out the most wubble double bubble hubble nubble mubble pubble wubble cubble zubble shit. It managed to make the school catch on fire. Everyone evacuated and everyone was covered in smoke. Everyone apologized to me for laughing at me. It turned out I had bowel cancer and I had to go to the doctor since my asshole had 3rd degree burns. One day I was getting ready for school because it was picture day. I had just got new makeup from Easter. I put my foundation on and I thought I looked cute even though the foundation shade made me look sunburnt and the eyeshadow was dark orange. Not a good look. I also wore this ugly musty dress. It was green on the top and the sleeves had brown ruffles. I thought I looked so cool so I went to school. I am still mad at my parents for sending me to school and that. Everyone stared at me while I walked into class, even my teacher. She was telling us to go down to get our pictures taken by our last names and I went in the beginning since my last name starts with C. I went down and then my stomach started to hurt. I ate McDonald's for breakfast because my parents were too lazy to make breakfast. I honestly started to pray to Whitney Houston that I wouldn't shart. I held my hands to my ass and walked to the photo booth. My stomach started to rumble grumble bumble trumble number mumble zumble lumble. I tried act natural so I removed my hands from my ass and got ready to take my picture. While I was standing there I did the most soggy doggy, sounded froggy, came out cloggy, looked loggy, made the room foggy, very soggy. I pulled a Nessa Barrett. It made the school building shake so much to the point people thought there was a level 5 tornado. I shat so much that it covered the camera right when they took the photo. When they realized it was my ass and not a tornado, I was immediately rushed to the emergency room and they diagnosed me with the one and only bowel cancer.
I was like 9 years old. For a very brief moment, I thought the word tatas meant toes. And so I asked my grandmother, Grandma, do you ever paint your tatas? And she was like, what? And I was like, do you ever paint your tatas? And she was like, people don't do that. And I'm like, yes, they do. Mom does it all the time. And I was like, anyway, if you ever decide to paint your tatas, I think you should paint them green.
I just realized I was really stupid when I was little. So it was my grandfather's funeral and I was like 4 or 5 and I was sitting down waiting to go outside and I see everyone crying so I'm like, why is everyone crying? And then my brother runs up to me with his eyes red as the eclipse and he hugs me and I'm like, oh, he just knows I'm the favorite child, which I still am. And then I look up and I see this ginormous picture of my grandpa, and I'm like, are we worshiping him or something? And then my mom takes me to see the casket, and I'm like, why is everyone so worked up about it? He's just taking a nice, peaceful nap in his nice, fancy bed with his nice, fancy suit on, like... And then we go outside to bury him and I just see everyone pouring their eyes out like cats and dogs pouring. And then I look up to my mom and say, do you need me to call 911 or the hospital? Like, I can do it right now without no hesitation. And then everyone leaves and then I just see my brother just crying, talking to the gravestone, and I'm like, why are you talking to thin air? And then he looks up to me and says, you're really dumb, aren't you? And then I say, what is that supposed to mean? And then like 5 minutes later, I go up to my mom with the happiest face on earth and say, can we please get ice cream now? I was so bored. And she looks at me and says, he's dumb!
So when I was a sophomore in high school, I had this teacher who would only let the students in her class use the restroom 1 time per semester. Well, one day I raised my hand and I was like, excuse me, I don't remember her name, can I please use the restroom? And she was like, no you can't because you've already used the restroom in my class this semester. Well, excuse me, you can't dictate my bladder. So I'm like all frustrated and I started secretly texting my mom because I wasn't allowed to use my phone in class. And I was like, Mom, I'm sitting in class right now. My teacher won't let me use the restroom. And she was like, I'll take care of it for you. And I was like, okay. So like 5 minutes goes by and all of a sudden my teacher's phone starts ringing and she walks up to it and answers it and she's like, hello? Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then she walks up to me like so angry and she like slams the pass on my desk and she was like, since you have to go that bad. And I was like, yeah, I really do, thanks. And I got up and left. I didn't even have to go to the bathroom. It was just the principle of it. I just roamed the halls.
I peed in the bathtub last night, and I was considering not sharing this story because I figured it might be too TMI, but then I remembered, oh, Liv, remember when you started this whole TikTok account with a 10-part story time of the most graphic, detailed, traumatic travel experience of your life, which was food poisoning, spewing from both ends, just really not sparing on the details? Nothing is too TMI on this page, apparently. So welcome. We're going to talk about it. This is for the UTI girlies who want a little hack to kick that bitch in a natural way. Yesterday, I felt slightly unwell. I figured it might be a UTI coming on, though I couldn't be completely sure because I haven't had a UTI since I was like 4 or 5 years old. So it's been like 20 plus years since I've had a UTI. But by nighttime, I'm feeling so shit and the symptoms are definite UTI symptoms, okay? You all know what I'm talking about. The having to pee when you don't actually have to pee, the burning when you do, the discomfort in the tummy area. We've all been there at one point, right? Even if it was 20 years ago. But I get to the point of discomfort where I'm like, this has got to stop and this girl has got to get into a bath with apple cider vinegar pronto. Why? I don't know. I didn't even research it. It was more of an intuitive thing. I was like, me, apple cider vinegar, bath, let's go. So I pour like a cup or two into the bath. Kyle follows me into the bath. I can't talk straight. Kyle followed me into the bathroom, and this is the ironic part of the story. I point at the yellow patch that's in the water. This is before I've gotten in the bath, and I'm like, see that? That's apple cider vinegar. I don't want you sitting next to the bath chatting with me thinking that I'm peeing in the bath, because obviously I didn't intend on peeing in the bath, okay? It wasn't the plan, going into the bath. So I'm soaking in the tub for like 20 minutes. I'm knocking back the water, trying to get some liquids in the system to flush everything out. Kyle's sitting next to me, keeping me company, chatting, being the gem of boyfriend that he is. I get to the end of my bath, okay? And I've heard that when you have a UTI, you're supposed to pee every time you have the urge to help flush out all of the bacteria. And so I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, do I get out of the bath, or do I... Kyle leaves to go finish a work thing, and I'm thinking in or out. I decide in. I don't know why I have this thought, but I'm like, maybe if I pee in the bath, the apple cider vinegar will kind of get in there and just fix everything. Again, this is not based on research. I'm not giving you medical advice, but all I can say is that I did it. Only a tiny bit came out, so you know what a UTI pee is like. Drain the bath, rinse myself off because I'm not nasty, and I'm literally cured. Had a full pee 20 minutes later from all the water I chugged. No pain, no discomfort, completely cured. So, hope this helps.
Story time on how I take showers with my dad when my mom's not home. Okay, so boom, let's jump right into it. So I'm grown, 16 years old to be exact, and I'm a woman. My dad is 38 and my mom is 50, and to be honest, she works a lot. So I'm usually home alone with my dad. Well, one day I was washing my hair and I needed to get my back washed, you know? Cause like I always struggle washing my back myself. So I called my dad and he came. With my back turned, I asked him to wash my back and he laughed, but he sure did it. We then looked into each other's eyes and both smiled and laughed again. One thing led to another and I turned around to expose my whole self to my dad and told him to come in with me. And guess what? He undressed himself, came in, and we had fun, if you know what I mean. Full-on makeout session is how it started. So now me and my dad's routine is to shower together when my mom's at work and we have lots of fun. But one day our fun was ended when all I seen was my mom opening the bathroom door and seeing my dad and I kissing, and obviously naked. Not long after that, my dad was heading to jail and my mom is putting me up for adoption. Now I'm living with a friend and have no family, so no more fun for me. Don't take showers, guys.